About a year ago I needed to hold a workpiece square with the table. I couldn't mount it on a table, so I needed an angle plate, and that's why I made this one. I didn't even bother to do the other side. Now this is very easy, 2 mounting holes bolted on the side, and I had a square angle, no problem. Yes, there was a problem. This is 10 millimeters, and when I took a little bit heavier cuts, it was bending a bit. So this one, not good. In the meanwhile, I even cut a piece off to do something else with. So I need a bigger plate to do this. So first I thought I'm gonna use a piece of angle iron. Of course, cut a piece off, clean it up, and then there is again a problem. If I fix it to the table, there's no room left to put a part here. So using this thing is maybe not a good idea, it's a bit drastic. But I also have this one. This one is 20 millimeters thick. Should be much better. Now, to be good, the total length of stroke of my shaper is about 200 millimeters, and this one is 250, so I have to cut a piece off first. But angle grinding for me is not good. I'm not allowed to breathe this dust, so I have to find another method. I'm gonna try to cut it off with the parting tool, see if it works. I never had really successes with it, but we're gonna try again, and then clean up the 6 faces. I can mount it here. That will be perfect. So making an angle plate out of this thing should be an easy and straightforward little project. It's always a bit dangerous to say that, because easy little projects can quickly go bananas, but we'll see. Shit happens. This cut is now 10 millimeters deep, which means halfway through. So what I'm gonna do to make it easier, I'm gonna flip this part around and cut from the other side. Probably there will be a little bit out of square then, but that's not a problem, because this surface I have to rework after. So no problemo. I'm ready to make the second cut, also about 10 millimeters deep, of course, and I aligned it just by eye, nothing special. We'll see if it works. Perfect. No angle grinder needed. To work these vertical surfaces, I wanted to use my round nose tool. It works very well because I have to do hand feeding. There's no automatic down feed on this machine. And even with hand feeding, this leaves a nice finish on the vertical surfaces. But this one is getting too short. I cannot not put it in properly like I have to. So all I have to do is make a new one. Now that I have this beautiful high-speed steel with 8% cobalt in it. This is first quality stuff. Let's make a round nose tool. I'm gonna make it 60 degrees. Okay. Always a problem wearing glasses and a dust mask. It doesn't work together. I have a new round nose tool. Let's put it in place and see if it works. You never know. I'm gonna do this in a vise. This surface is finished, and without changing the position of the cutting tool, I can do this surface. I dialed in a half a millimeter. I hope it's enough to clean up this rusty thing here. And of course I have to move my made in Germany clamps while cutting. Let's go for it. Let's bump up the speed a bit. because I'm not really happy with the finish on this surface, and there's a little line you can feel in here. I'm gonna give it a go with the Everett shear tool. I gave it a touch on the grinding stone, so this should be much better after. There's a little bit pitting left in here from the rust. That's not good for the tool, but we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna take off the made in Germany clamps. We don't need them anymore, because I take only very light cuts, of course. Looks a lot better. I finished this 3 faces in one setup, so that's good. Now, unfortunately, if I take it out and turn it around, the piece is too long to put this way between these jaws things, so I cannot do 3 faces in one setup. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this out. No need anymore. Make sure everything is nice and clean here. That feels good. Because now the machine is set to cut from this side to this side, so the table gonna move that way. I'm not gonna change it. The clapper box is in the right way. All I have to do is regrind my round nose tool, because it lost its round nose in this scale. I wasn't cutting deep enough the second time, I think, and the scale broke a little bit my tool. So regrind and then do this face. Okay, now to do the 2 last faces here, this one and the other one at the bottom. I can't put my part in this way because my clamping system things are too short, so I'm gonna take them off and put the part directly on the table. Maybe using these 2 holes here, see if it's possible. Must be possible, yes. These 2 holes, and clamp it down and work this face and this face. I had to be very careful that the bolt here clears the dovetail, but it clears, no problem. let's double check that, because I never trusted this calipers. 30, 70, okay, 10, 100, perfect. Voila! I have an angle plate. I think it looks good. But first, let's see if it works. So this one comes here. That's a bit snug. That will do, but first let's check if it's indeed square. And indeed it is square. About 2 years ago, I think, I made a video where I showed how I worked this surface on this engine part. Don't worry, this engine is broke, it will never run again, so no problem. And there was no way to fix it because it's all wobbly. I don't have a good surface on this side. The only surface I have is this one, and I know this is square to this. So wait for the motorbikes to pass. If I put my part this way on the table, I know this is square, and I worked it from the upside first down. Now this is hand feeding, so you never have a perfect finish on it. Now that I have this plate here, I can mount this part right here against my plate, make it nice and square, and use the power feed or the automatic feed, which will give a much nicer surface. You know what? Let's do. The made in Germany clamps are holding this part in place. I clocked it and I have a difference of 1/100th of a millimeter. I think for just playing around part, that's good enough. I'll dialed in 1/20th of a millimeter. So let's give it a go. It's a step over of 1/10th of a millimeter. End of the first pass. Now I'm not really impressed with the surface finish, and you can see the first 10 millimeter here, a bit less than 10 millimeter. There was no cutting oil, and here I put cutting oil on. So you see a big difference. Cutting oil, very important. I'm gonna give it a second pass, but I'm gonna do that off camera, and then after we'll check out the results. And this is the result after 2 cuts. First cut I did with this one, but I think this angle is too aggressive. I have to rework it. we'll see. And then the second cut I did with my old tap here, and I think this is the best tool I ever made. It works perfectly fine. But of course that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose is making an angle plate. I think making an angle blade like this one is a very nice Sunday afternoon project, because there's not too much work on it and it works really well. So I'm quite pleased with it. And the fun is, I didn't have any bozos, I didn't break any tools, the plate didn't try to escape, so everything went very well. The only problem I had were camera problems. Some of the shots are out of frame, shit happens, and the camera sometimes just stopped filming. It filmed a few seconds and then it stops. So not really easy to do, but it worked